Then they come back and they do the WCW and the NWO. But I didn't tell them how to, they couldn't keep it running. They had McMahon on the ropes, but they didn't know how to keep it going. And that's because Hogan and Nash and what's the other big kid? Hall are kind of calling the shots, and Flair, and they know how to get themselves established, but they don't know how to bring around these other guys to help with the card, make the card better, and prepare them to take over.
They became the other guy. Everybody else on the card became the cannon fodder to keep this
them going, rather than helping getting the other guy. That's when they had Del Wilkes down there. They should have taken him and made a big star out of him, but they didn't know. It's not they didn't want to do it; they didn't know how to do it.
But that was a 31-year run, and of all of the territories, now the Crockett's were in business for 50 years, but they were off down there to the side, and it was not a situation where a wrestler had gone off television and started that territory. Of all the territories that were started after the TV boom by wrestlers, Vern's lasted the longest. And it was the most major, it covered the most geographic territory, had tons of big names, did record business on a few different runs in a couple of different decades. What's the legacy now? I mean, you know, they've moved on, I guess, in Oakland, California, as I'm sure they have in other places, but in Minneapolis, St. Paul, in Green Bay, in Chicago, and in Milwaukee, and the core area, if it's like Louisville, if it's like Memphis, or if it's like other places I'm familiar with, the guys are still household names to anybody that was over 30, right?
Exactly.
Do you enjoy when people run into you now and say, "Oh my God, I watched your dad wrestle on, you know, in Chicago at the Marigold Arena in 1956 or whatever, or how great the AWA was"?
Yeah, I mean, they do it all the time. They said those were the days. People say we came and watched the wrestling today. It's not the same.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's 99 to 1. People will come up. I used to love wrestling. Don't watch it anymore.
Oh, hey, one thing I did forget to tell you. Okay, and this was big, and nobody knew about it but Vern and I. And this happened when we got Andre for February.
Yeah.
CBS had come to us, and they were going to put us on the network every quarter. We had to have Hogan. And the first match we were going to have was Hogan and Andre in February. Hogan didn't know about that because
Hogan and Andre on network television, that could work.
And it would have kicked off our event for CBS. And we didn't tell him because we just had locked it up just before Christmas, and he was going to tell Hogan after he got back. So, how's that for a little kick in the balls?
The history of wrestling,
that would have changed the whole thing.
A little different. But Greg, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you revisiting these memories. It's one that the people in the Midwest, the AWA is always going to have a fond spot. Everybody loves the wrestling they grew up on, but so many of them and such a big part of the country grew up on the AWA. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. I just
to go back to the territories.
One thing. There was 2 managers in professional wrestling, Bobby Heenan and this guy right here. They were the best in the business, and there was nobody better, and there nobody would ever be better than them.
And Bobby Heenan was a lot better than me, so that just goes to show you how great he was.
Yes,
he was. Okay, now come
I'm glad we agree on that.
You're supposed to argue with me.
I'm not going to argue
Why
on that
I ought to come here. I told him.
Get out your tennis racket.
I'll take the claw.
Throw it on.